On April 1, 2000, Alan Andrews, a resident of Burlington County, New Jersey, was enjoying a sunny day riding his ATV. It has been a rainy week, but finally the skies, as if at nature's command, parted, spoiling the town with bright, warm sunshine. Alan, as an avid fan of extreme driving, could not miss this opportunity to ride out of town. As he drove past the New Jersey Turnpike Bridge, Alan slowed down for a second. Suddenly, an unusual object lying on the ground caught his eye and made him stop. It was something large. His heart started beating a little faster from the sudden thrill. Alan turned off the engine, got off the ATV, and walked cautiously toward the object that caught his eye. He wasn't prepared for what he saw a moment later. It was a woman, and it was obvious that nothing could be done to help her. This discovery didn't just shock him, it made his heart race harder than ever before. Who was she? How did she end up here? These questions were swirling around in his head, but one of them made him sweat the most. What should he do now? When Alan was finally able to calm down, he contacted the police to report that he had found a woman's body and explained where they needed to go. Detectives had to determine whether the incident was an accident, a deliberate jump from a bridge, or a crime. Police and ambulance arrived at the scene, but it was obvious that medical assistance would no longer be of any use. It was clear from the victim's appearance and insect activity that the body had been there for at least 24 hours. Visually, all of the injuries appeared to be sustained in a fall from the height. The victim's age was roughly determined to be between 20 and 30 years old. She was wearing jeans and a white sweatshirt. There were no shoes on her feet or anywhere near the body. She only had white socks on, which drew the investigators' attention, namely the fact that they appeared to be practically clean. They could have been in such a state if, for example, the woman had arrived by car, stopped, got out on the bridge, removed her shoes, and jumped down. But there was no abandoned car on or near the bridge, which added to the mystery of the case. The officers began to suspect that the whole thing might not be what it seemed at first glance. The body was sent for forensic examination, and it was necessary to identify the victim straight away, as she did not have any documents on her. Police circulated a description of her clothing and jewelry. A chain with a butterfly pendant hanging around her neck stood out the most. Detectives soon received a phone call from a man who identified himself as the victim's ex-boyfriend. He confidently stated that he had recognized the pendant and sorrowfully reported that the deceased was 21-year-old Rachel Ciani. At the beginning of the investigation, police suggested that it was Rachel's own decision to jump off the bridge. However, her family strongly rejected this theory. They told the investigators that Rachel was happy, excelled in her studies, and had no reason to do something so desperate. Their words were supported by her cheerful character and passion for everything she was doing. But further evidence confirmed the fears of her loved ones. Forensic investigators found dried, dark red spots on the bridge, right above where the body was found. After forensic testing, it was determined to be Rachel's blood. This evidence clearly indicated that she did not willingly make the fatal jump. The blood on the bridge showed that Rachel had some kind of injury before she fell from the height. In addition, it was unclear how she ended up on the bridge, which was a busy highway. The forensic experts' report completely destroyed the theory of a voluntary jump, rendering it untenable. A detailed analysis revealed that the ruptured blood vessels in Rachel's eyes, as well as in other areas of her face, indicated that these injuries were sustained before the fatal fall. Such signs are most often indicative of strangulation. However, after thoughtfully examining the nature of the internal injuries, the forensic expert concluded that Rachel was still alive at the time of the actual fall, meaning that the last hours of her life were filled with severe agony. Now, the police had to find out who might have been capable of such a brutal act. At the time of her death, Rachel was a psychology student at a college in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, 30 miles from where her body was found. In search of clues to unravel this dark mystery, police officers visited the college in hopes of obtaining information that might shed light on what was going on. According to her classmates, Rachel was friendly and attentive, had no conflicts with anyone, nor did she face any problems in her studies, and everyone who knew her spoke positively about her. And yet the visit to the college was not in vain. The investigators' survey of students and teachers revealed a curious fact that even Rachel's closest circle of friends had not been aware of before. The college was not tuition-free. Rachel was not from a wealthy family. She showed incredible resilience and independence, earning money to pay for college and her everyday life. Until the investigation began, no one really knew exactly how she was earning the money. An unexpected truth unfolded. In order to make a decent living and pay for her studies, Rachel worked as a dancer in a men's club. The venue where she performed was called Divas. Exactly 3 miles separated the place where her body was found from the club. When the family found out what Rachel was doing, they had mixed feelings. On the one hand, they did not approve of such work. On the other hand, they recognized Rachel as an adult capable of making her own choices. The police went to the Divas Club to talk to the staff. Just like in college, everyone here described Rachel as a quiet girl who never stirred up any conflicts. Her job at the club was to perform several shows a week under the pseudonym of Foxy Roxy. One of Rachel's co-workers shared a memory of the recent layoff of a cook that happened a month ago. This layoff was not directly related to Rachel, however. The co-worker claimed that the cook had fond feelings for Rachel, even though she showed no interest in him. Perhaps it was this unrequited sympathy that might have caused him to harbor an unresolved resentment toward her. The police obtained the man's personal data and, after thoroughly reviewing it, found that he had nothing to do with the case. The investigation revealed that after his layoff, he had moved to another city where he had a convincing alibi. Rachel's car, which had remained parked outside the club all this time, was extensively analyzed. Forensic investigators rigorously inspected every particle of its interior and bodywork, but found nothing suspicious or indicative of a crime. Nevertheless, the detectives understood that Rachel's work at the club, where dozens of men gathered daily, required a more thorough investigation. In this particular club, the girls were engaged exclusively in dancing without providing any other services for a price. The police suggested that Rachel may have had a misunderstanding with someone in the club and that this could have been the cause or motive for further events. In order to uncover every possible aspect of the case, detectives returned to the club. There, they scrutinized all the staff files, hoping to find anything they had missed on their first visit. Their goal was to interview the club's personnel and regulars in detail in order to get as much information as possible about Rachel's interactions and relationships with the visitors. One of Rachel's colleagues, with whom the detectives did not have the opportunity to talk during the first visit, provided the investigation with very interesting information that shed new light on the case. Rebecca said that among the visitors of the club, there was one regular customer, a man of huge financial means, who was never stingy on generous tips. This wealthy man paid special attention to Rachel, making her his favorite. He could pay her several $100s just to spend time with him while sitting at a bar. He also gave her expensive gifts on a regular basis. According to all club employees, this relationship was purely platonic. Rachel was not in an intimate relationship with this man. The most important thing in Rebecca's story, however, was that Rachel was last seen with this very client. It was the night of March 29th, just 3 days before her body was found under the bridge. It was around 2:30, and the club they worked at had already closed. Rebecca and Rachel were sitting in a car in the club's parking lot when they noticed someone, quite tipsy, knocking desperately on the doors of the establishment. The noise attracted the attention of a police officer patrolling the area, and he went to find out what was going on. There was no need to detain the man, as the manager of the club assured the police officer that they knew him and that everything was fine. The drunken customer who tried to break into the club after hours was the very generous and respected regular customer of the establishment, whom the club management obviously did not want to lose. He was known for his impressive tips. Rachel, seeing that it was him, immediately went towards the entrance, where the scene played out, hoping to resolve the situation with the least possible consequences. Realizing that the argument could escalate into something more, she offered her help, saying that she would walk him to the hotel. This hotel was not just part of the establishment that housed the club, but also an island of safety for those who lost control of themselves after a night of fun. The mysterious, generous customer turned out to be 35-year-old John Denofa. Apparently, he often stayed overnight at the club's hotel because he abused alcohol and was unable to drive. After Rachel offered to walk John to the hotel, she was never seen again, and this raised the investigators' concerns and suspicions. When they spoke to the hotel receptionist who was working that night, he confirmed that he did indeed see Rachel and John Denofa walking up the stairs to his room, which was on the second floor. Denofa became the main suspect in this complicated case. Before calling him in for questioning, the police decided to take a closer look at his life to gather as much information as possible so as not to miss any important details. They soon found out that the man was not only a successful businessman, but also a man of impeccable reputation who was deeply respected in the society. In addition, he was married to a woman with whom the investigators found his relationship to be very strange and even mysterious. The investigation revealed that his wife often brought him to the club and, most surprisingly, was comfortable with his occasional overnight stays at the hotel. This tolerance seemed quite unusual in their marriage. Moreover, on nights when he had had too much to drink, his wife could come and get him herself, a rare display of understanding and care for such a situation. When John was informed of the forthcoming interview and explained what the investigators wanted to talk to him about, he gave the impression of a man deeply saddened by Rachel's tragic death. It seemed that her death had been an unbearable blow that had left an indelible mark on his soul. With unfazed calmness, he categorically denied any involvement in the incident. According to him, on that fatal night, Rachel did accompany him to the door of the hotel, but at that point, their paths parted. She did not go up to the room with him and did not even enter the building. John assured the investigators that he went straight to his room, alone, while Rachel, after saying goodbye, went on her way. This narrative clearly contradicted the words of the hotel receptionist on duty that night. The receptionist confidently claimed that he had seen Rachel and John go up to his room together. When the receptionist was questioned a second time, he not only stood his ground, but added that he did not see Rachel leave the hotel. Moreover, the receptionist recalled that it was about 20 to 30 minutes after John and Rachel disappeared behind the room door before John went downstairs to check out of the hotel. It was 3 in the morning, and in doing so, John smelled like either soap or shampoo. By the time the police came to search the very room where John Denofa was staying, it had been 5 days after the incident. The room was cleaned extensively several times, and as a result, the experts were unable to find any evidence of a crime there. Every part of the room gleamed with cleanliness, as if there was no space for anything suspicious. But it was only inside the room that looked spotless. Below his window, on the pavement, they noticed a dark stain of considerable size. It was black in color, which did not attract much attention at first glance. But when one of the policemen cautiously swiped a white napkin over it, it suddenly turned a bloody red color. Without wasting a moment, samples of the stain were carefully collected and sent for examination. When Denofa checked in at the hotel, he listed his vehicle on the registration card, a red Dodge pickup truck, a vehicle that gave him certain charisma and a sense of superiority. Driving from the hotel to the place where the body was found required passing through a toll booth, which fortunately was equipped with CCTV cameras and could provide answers to many questions. The trip from the hotel to the place where Rachel's body was found would have taken no more than 5 minutes. The police were aware that Denofa had left the hotel around 3 a.m. Investigators seized CCTV footage from the toll booth, hoping to find a clue in the silent frames. Their efforts were successful. On the footage, at 3:13 a.m., they saw a red Dodge pickup truck flash by, with something in the back of it that was not immediately recognizable, but they knew it was a body. The red pickup truck was headed exactly where Rachel's body was found. "27 minutes later, at 3:40 a.m., the same pickup truck reappeared in the footage, now heading back, with its bodywork empty. The CCTV footage, combined with other evidence and witness statements, allowed police to arrest John Denofa and charge him with multiple counts. Despite the evidence available to investigators, he denied his guilt. The quality of the camera footage did not make it possible to clearly see the license plate number or the facial features of the man behind the wheel, leaving Denofa with a faint hope that he would be able to escape the harsh punishment coming his way like a stormy cloud. He decided to skillfully take advantage of this circumstance, confidently promoting his version of events, claiming that the recording was not his car at all. The investigators, realizing the insufficiency of the available data, sought to obtain more solid evidence. Having received the long-awaited warrant, forensic experts immediately began a thorough examination of his pickup truck. From the very first moments, they noticed that the bodywork of the pickup truck was crystal clear, as if it had been carefully cleaned. Denofa had obviously made a tremendous effort to ensure that the police could not find anything compromising in his car. However, one single mistake gave him away. Experienced forensic experts, after a careful examination, finding nothing in the luggage compartment, decided to disassemble the plastic sheeting. Under it, they found dried stains of a dark red color. Forensics quickly determined that these stains in the trunk of Denofa's pickup truck and the stain under the hotel window were Rachel Ciani's blood. It would seem that John Denofa could not now escape a harsh punishment and a lasting prison sentence, but he wasn't about to give up without a fight. Having developed a new version of events, he tried to convince the investigators that he was not involved in the incident with Rachel. He changed his testimony, insisting that someone else had used his pickup truck. According to him, at times when he was unable to drive due to alcohol intoxication, club employees took the keys away from him. Denofa claimed that someone may have made duplicate keys to frame him and misdirect the investigation. His words sounded like a desperate attempt to explain the inexplicable and to deflect suspicion from himself. The trial took place in 2002. Taking into account all the evidence as well as the forensic expert's report, the prosecutor voiced the approximate development of events on that fateful night. Immediately after Rachel and John Denofa went up to his hotel room, there was a furious argument between them. Supposedly, Denofa wanted to become intimate with Rachel, but she refused. In a fit of rage, he began strangling her, and she soon lost consciousness. John, gripped by terror and panic, assumed that Rachel was dead and was convinced that he needed to cover up his atrocity as quickly as possible. Taking Rachel out the front door was impossible. Too many risks and prying eyes. The only way out was through the window. That explained the dark stain on the asphalt beneath the room window. Then John checked out of the hotel, loaded Rachel into his pickup truck, and headed for the bridge. He probably hoped to dump her in the Delaware River, hoping the water would cover up any trace of her. However, under the cover of night and in his haste, he made a mistake, and Rachel fell to the ground instead of water. After carefully reviewing all available evidence, including the time Denofa left the hotel and the time his pickup truck was caught on surveillance camera, as well as the locations where Rachel Ciani's DNA was found, the court found him guilty. On November 29, 2002, John Denofa was sentenced to life in prison with the right to ask for parole after 30 years. Since then, Denofa has desperately tried to challenge the court's verdict, clinging to the phantom hope of salvation, but his efforts have been futile. His first parole eligibility date is in August of 2032. Some news sources say the police were unable to find Rachel's shoes.